Okay, so starting off today's show, I wanted to talk a little bit about Le'Veon Bell and his decision to sign with the Kansas City Chiefs. And there are a couple different angles when we look at this whole situation that we could go into. And I just want to start off by saying this: Le'Veon Bell and the New York Jets. It really just didn't work out, and it's super unfortunate. And you know whose fault it was that Le'Veon Bell and the New York Jets didn't work out? The owner of the New York Jets, Christopher Johnson, and Adam Gase, the head coach of the New York Jets. You know why? Because Mike Maccagnan signed Le'Veon Bell 2 off seasons ago. And that was really, as a New York Jet fan, I could specifically tell you one of the most important off seasons for the New York Jets in a long time. They had a bunch of cap space and they brought in Le'Veon Bell, CJ Mosley. And to be honest, as a New York Jet fan, it was a kind of free agency where I've never experienced that in a really long time. My team just spending relentless amount of money to bring in the most talented free agents possible. And literally before that free agent class, led by Bell and Mosley, even plays a freaking game, they fire Mike Maccagnan, the GM that brought all those guys in. And you want to know why Mike Maccagnan got fired? Is because him and Adam Gase got into a power struggle, and this guy Christopher Johnson decided to give Adam Gase, the guy who really, when you look at his resume, right, he doesn't deserve to be a head coach, let alone a general manager of a team. And luckily for us Jet fans, Christopher Johnson got a little bit of sense and decided to bring in Joe Douglas to be the GM, but he's rebuilding a team and he was just dealt a really bad hand. And Adam Gase just really didn't know how to even use Le'Veon Bell in his offense to begin with. They were beefing the whole time since Le'Veon Bell got there, ever since Bell heard about the rumors that Adam Gase wanted to trade him before this guy even played a game in a New York Jet uniform. Now, do I know if that's true or not? I'm not sure. But at the same time, Le'Veon Bell was out here liking tweets about him possibly signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. He was also out here before he got cut by the New York Jets. He was out here, complaining about the fact that he only got one target, and rightfully so. Because when you look at this guy while he was in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform, he was one of the more talented running backs in the league. And I understand 2017 was 3 years ago. I get it. And I'm not saying right now Le'Veon Bell is the same exact player that he was in 2017. But I do think there was some gas left in the tank. And the problem is when you compare him to some of the other talented skill position players on the New York Jets, I shouldn't even have said talented because it's not even close. Le'Veon Bell was Sam Darnold's best chance at having an elite playmaker, and this guy, Adam Gase, had no idea how to use them. I thought that the New York Jets, when they had Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell, Jamal Adams, CJ Mosley, those four guys on the field, I kind of thought that last year they had a legitimate chance to win. And if you remember, they were up 16-0 on the Buffalo Bills in week 1 of their season last year. I believe if the New York Jets don't blow that game, and if you remember that game, the reason why they blew it was because CJ Mosley got hurt and their defense just really wasn't the same after that. If they don't blow that game, I think last year's Jets season goes differently. Maybe Sam Darnold doesn't get mono, who knows? But the Jets really just were not set out to win since that game last year. And I think this year's 0-5 start has a lot to do with it. And they decided to cut Le'Veon Bell after he did not talk to the media the other day, which I didn't agree with, but whatever. And it was inevitable at this point. And he announces that he's going to be signing with the defending Super Bowl champs. The Kansas City Chiefs announced that they signed Le'Veon Bell. And when you think about it, this makes a lot of sense, but Le'Veon Bell did have a bunch of options. He was considering, according to all reports last night, the last 3 teams were the Chiefs, the Dolphins, and the Bills. And I think when you look at Le'Veon Bell, there is some gas left in the tank. I really strongly believe that. My thing is, I believe there are certain places that are built for him to succeed better than others. And if you were to ask me, Zach, if you're Le'Veon Bell and money aside, which team gives you the best chance to succeed and have the best football career possible, I would have listed it Kansas City 1, Buffalo 2, and Miami 3. Because let's face it, I understand that Le'Veon Bell signing with the Kansas City Chiefs right now, he's not going to be the number 1 running back. They drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round from LSU for a reason, and he's shown flashes of how good he could possibly be. But let's keep in mind, this Kansas City Chiefs offense is loaded. They have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, and Le'Veon Bell being integrated into this offense now with Andy Reid as the head coach, a guy that is an offensive genius. Eric Bieniemy, same thing. I really like the way he calls plays. Le'Veon Bell has a really good chance to succeed in Kansas City. You saw Le'Veon in his prime with Antonio Brown and one season with Juju Smith-Schuster in 2017. That was just Le'Veon Bell at his prime, and you saw how dynamic he was. If he could come anywhere close to that while wearing a Kansas City Chief uniform, that would be a big-time success, because right now, let's face facts. It's not like the Kansas City Chiefs offense really needed him. I know the Chiefs offense has been a little stagnant so far this season, but I still think when push comes to shove, Patrick Mahomes is the kind of guy that is, built to lead his team to victory in any game possible. I know the Chiefs lost the other day to the Las Vegas Raiders, and we'll see how they come out on Monday afternoon football against the Buffalo Bills this week with Le'Veon Bell, who should be on the field. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, once again, should probably be the number one guy. It may take Bell like a week or two to really get integrated with this offense, but I think ultimately signing with the Kansas City Chiefs does put Le'Veon Bell in a good position to succeed. And a couple people have asked me, before he signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, Zach, if you're a team like the Miami Dolphins, or if you're a team like the Chicago Bears, or the Pittsburgh Steelers maybe, or the New England Patriots, are those the kind of teams that are suited to sign Le'Veon Bell? And I think ultimately, when you look at this whole scenario, the question is this: do you think Le'Veon Bell has anything left in the tank? Because I told you, I think Kansas City is a good spot for him to succeed. But a lot of people still have the expectation, given the amount of money that the New York Jets were paying him, that he could still be an elite running back in this league. And maybe it just has something to do with the fact that he took a season off, Maybe it has something to do with the fact that he was consistently one of the best running backs in the leagues for about a 3 to 4 year span. And he hasn't, really done that the last couple of years. But when I look at Le'Veon Bell's football career as a whole, right, I see a guy that is hitting the open market right now. He's 28 years old. And in Pittsburgh, he really thrived. And he was one of the best running backs in the league for that 3 to 4 year span. But let's face facts. He was in a really good situation. The Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the more well-run franchises consistently in the National Football League, from ownership up. Le'Veon Bell was able to play with Ben Roethlisberger, one quarterback, for a 4 year span, which really holds down the consistency of an NFL team. He played with Antonio Brown. He played under one head coach in Mike Tomlin, and he really succeeded as the star running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But then, what happens. He hits the open market. He sits out a year because the Pittsburgh Steelers don't want to pay him, and he thinks the running back position is a pretty risky position to play. He thought running back was a pretty risky position to play, considering the injury shelf life, and the Steelers just didn't want to pay him, and he didn't feel appreciated by that. So he sits out the 2018 season, and then the next thing you know, out of nowhere, the New York Jets sign him. And you guys know, if you listen to this show, I'm a New York Jets fan, and I just never thought Le'Veon Bell fit with these New York Jets. I thought it could succeed, but Adam Gase just had no idea how to use him. And I think that was the one decision by Christopher Johnson that really just held this team back, man. It was hiring Adam Gase. What has Adam Gase done to deserve all this power in the National Football League? It's literally get Peyton Manning coffee as the Broncos offensive coordinator and make Jay Cutler look, semi-good one season when Adam Gase was the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. But Le'Veon Bell, I just was talking about how good his situation was when he was the star running back in Pittsburgh. Well, as good as that situation was, if you were to, if you're going to rate it 1 to 10, I would put Le'Veon Bell as a 10 in terms of how good the situation was for him in Pittsburgh. When you look at how good the situation was for Le'Veon Bell when he was the running back for the New York Jets, I would rate that total opposite, like a 1, just because his coach was totally incompetent. His offense really didn't have enough playmakers besides him. And I'm more so talking about this season. I don't if you were to ask most people, 2 months ago, Zach, if Le'Veon Bell got cut by the New York Jets, how would you feel? You would be pretty shocked. But if you watch the first 5 games of the season and you know the history of this New York Jet franchise and the vibes currently around this New York Jet franchise, you're not going to be shocked, I don't think, that Le'Veon Bell talked his way out of New York. Because you want to know why? Jamal Adams did the same thing. It's pretty easy to talk your way out of New York right now. And when you look at how the team is playing, you can't be shocked by that. Who would want to play for this New York Jets franchise right now? And the more and more I look at the way this Jet team is going, I think that they're going to have the number 1 overall pick. They might as well go 0-16, and they're going to draft Trevor Lawrence. And hopefully from there, that's where the rebuild begins, and that's where you really start promoting, okay, we're a team going in the right direction. Maybe the Jets will hopefully be able to find their own Sean McVay. Maybe Arthur Smith, a guy who we're going to talk about a little bit later on this podcast, could be a realistic option for that. But Le'Veon Bell ends up signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. I want to ask you guys, how do you think Le'Veon Bell's tenure with the Kansas City Chiefs will go? They have Clyde Edwards-Helaire as their number 1 back right now. We also know how loaded their skill position players are with Kelsey, with Hill, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes leading the way. And Kansas City, even though they were able to put up 32 points against the Raiders the other day, I wasn't that impressed by their game plan and by their offense. And it's one game. It was the first game the Kansas City Chiefs lost in a really long time. We know the background these guys have is just certified winners. But let's face it, the Chiefs could have easily lost to the LA Chargers if their kicker just wasn't out here banging 58-yard field goal after 58-yard field goal. The Kansas City Chiefs could have easily, lost to they really outplayed the Ravens, but they, could have easily lost a couple other games throughout last year's playoff run, and they were able to come back out of nowhere. I just think Le'Veon Bell being their running back right here is going to really provide them with some stability along with him and Edwards-Helaire, and it's literally no risk, high reward, which is always a good call for a team that is coming off a Super Bowl championship.